Hello and welcome back to yet another video. Have you ever had an experience that just completely blew your mind? But on the contrary, have you ever been told about an experience that maybe it was a friend, it was a recommendation that blew their mind, so you got so excited you went and did whatever that was? Maybe it was a movie, maybe it was a theme park, maybe it was a dinner, whatever that is. Maybe it was a show, and you went and your expectations just plummeted. Today, we're talking all about client experience. Not just client experience, but consistent client experience, ensuring that everyone that goes through your product, your process, your services gets treated to a capacity that blows their expectations and raises your reputation. So, I'm just gonna hop right in. Client experience boils down to three things. Number one, you must be doing more than the baseline. You must be doing more than you agreed upon. And what I mean by this is, for instance, if you go into Starbucks or a coffee shop and you hand them $3, they'll give you a cup of coffee in return. Nothing wrong with that, but there's also nothing remarkable to talk about. You know, a proper client experience gives people a reason and an avenue to talk about you, thus furthering your business, your reputation, your income, all those things that come with having an amazing experience. But if you just do the agreed upon things, there's nothing wrong with your product or your service, but there's also no reason to talk about you. For instance, if someone comes to me and they come to my website, they send me an inquiry, we talk, and they decide, I'm hiring James and Jess to take my wedding photos. The baseline there is, here's your money, I'll see you at my wedding, you'll take good photos, and you'll deliver those photos. That's baseline. It's assumed the photos are going to be good because they hired you. It's assumed whatever coffee you're buying you're going to enjoy because you specifically sought that out. But at the end of the day, if all I do is deliver the gallery, here's your photos, that's good. It's not good enough to have a remarkable experience, and I've given them no reason to talk about me. That's exactly what we agreed upon. So the second point is you must exceed the set expectations. A lot of people, Jess and I use the phrase under promise and over deliver, which means what I'm promising you is all you see. You know, the visible line that I'm promising you is I'll take your photos, you pay me money, I'll take your photos. But what they don't see is all that I'm going to over deliver that's going to raise that bar, raise that experience, raise my reputation, raise the way they feel about me, about themselves, about the photos, all those things. One is understanding that you can't just do the agreed upon services. The second part is you must exceed those. And the third part, and this is the most clutch part, because if you don't have this third part, you might as well not pay attention to everything else I've said. You must be able to do it on repeat with every single client. If you don't do it with every single client, that's where the part I asked you a few minutes ago. Have you ever had someone refer you and then the experience wasn't what they said it was? That's worse because one person's saying this about you, the other person's expectations is plummeting, thus causing your reputation to be mixed and all over the place. And as creatives, myself fully guilty of this, as an Enneagram 7, naturally, if you know me, I don't naturally think of things in that consistent step and repeat way. Yet the only way to skyrocket your reputation is to have a client experience that blows everyone's expectations every single time. And the only way to do that is with a system. This is a graph showing you exactly what I mean. So over here is experience, over here is time, and let's say this dotted line on the bottom is expectations, right? That is the baseline. They expect you to pay. They pay here. Way down here, you deliver the photos. But let's call this blue line up here with the dots client number one's experience. Over time, they go from I agree to here, but then say right after they pay you, you send them a welcome gift. And that just ups it a little bit, exceeding expectations. And say you have these things laced in through the whole experience, so by the time they get to here, they're way past the baseline and you're exceeding their expectations, you're over-delivering, you're blowing their minds with a fantastic client experience. Now let me show you what happens when you do this inconsistently and say client number 2 comes along that this client referred you to. So now let's hop back into here. So now, let's call pink line client number 2 that was referred to you from client number 1, the blue line. As you can see, their expectations started a little bit higher because someone was boasting about you. That's good. They're boasting about their experience. And say you were doing this inconsistently without a system, something that allowed you to be consistent, right? You start here, everything's looking good. You send the welcome box, amazing. Say over here you did the engagement session and crushed it. But then because you didn't have this set, you forget about these 2 things, or maybe you didn't feel like doing those things. And they're expecting it because client number 1 was talking about it, so they plummet and you drop them. You just plop, drop them from their set expectation ideas from someone else boasting about you. And that is really hard to recover. As you see down here, they actually go past the baseline of disappointment. And you have to do a lot of work to even recover this back to here because you dropped them from such a high experience already. So I hope this graph helps you grasp a little bit of the seriousness of why consistency is key in client experience. Because if you treat one person that way, and if you treat several people that way, your experience, your reputation will start to rise. But then if you forget, if you don't have this set in stone for every single client, those will drop. You will drop clients accidentally, not because you did it intentionally, but because you weren't intentional about repeating this experience with every single client. And then you drop them, and that's really hard to recover from that client, and that's really hard to even get a referral from that client because they're gonna remember those lows. As long as their high points are higher than their low points, that's okay. But if you just drop them, that's hard to recover from. So let's all agree right now, a system is the most efficient way to free us of our own inconsistencies and making sure everyone is treated above expectation. Picture this line right here, the baseline that I was talking about, like the visual line that they see, but everything else we do is invisible. The little dots of experience that I'm going to teach you in a second are invisible to them, but visible to us, knowing that everyone's going to be treated above expectations and with remarkable experiences attached to them, thus giving them a better experience and reasons to talk about you. And before I pull you into my screen and show you how to graph this out yourself, let's talk about the essentials of a system. If you guys have not read the book, The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, this is the entire book is about systematizing things in your business to be more efficient, to be more automated, to give better experiences for yourself and your clients. But what a system really boils down to is, in this case, go through your client experience. Go through everything you want to do for every single client that exceeds expectations. So list them out, and then from that, write them down. Take the repeatable tasks, write them down, and attach a time frame to it. So for instance, it might be after every single person books with me, that week I send them a welcome gift. You wrote it down, you put a timing on it, and then you repeat that. You map out those touch points for the client experience for their entire lifespan. They're going to be with you in your service, from booking you to delivering the photos, and you lace in, you write down what's going to happen to exceed their expectations and when it's going to happen, and then you put that on repeat with every single client. It's that simple, yet it's so hard sometimes for us creatives to get past that. But isn't it boring if they all know? I used to think that, but it's not. Think about it. They don't know that every single person goes through this system. And even if they do, it elevates your reputation. The only damaging part is if they do know, they're expecting it, and if you don't do it because you don't have a system that lets everyone go through that, you're going to drop their expectations. So let's dive into my screen here, and I'm going to show you how it looks just like this, just a little bit more formally, of how it looks to lace in things throughout the experience so you can start to send your clients through remarkable experiences. Your reputation goes up, they have more reasons to talk about you, and everything just keeps going in the positive direction. So let's pull into my screen real quick, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Here we are inside my screen, and this probably looks very familiar because it's what I just mapped out on was Sharpies on that page, but I wanted to give it a little bit more formality to give you a more well-rounded understanding of what it can look like to build out your system for client experience. So see here, this is again experience on the left-hand side, time. Point A is from inquiry. Point B is when you've delivered your services, and everything in between. So remember, in a system, you need to identify the repeatable tasks you want to do. You need to write them down. You need to give them a time frame with it, and then you just put that on repeat. It's that simple. So what this can look like, for instance, is this. So say you're a wedding photographer, and point A is a set apart inquiry experience. As you can see, if you do this correctly, point A is actually already elevated, because if your website, if your email sequences, if your response is quick, if those things are elevated, you're already starting on a higher point than, I would argue, 80-90% of wedding photographers. Because if they're sending an inquiry to you and a few other people, and your experience from the get-go is elevated, you're already above the line of expectation, and that is a great spot to be. I'm gonna link a video in here that I did on beat matching. It's how to make a video gallery of your best work. Jess and I have that on our inquiry page. We have that on our website, and that's one of the ways that we set apart our things. I get so many comments from brides and grooms I book because they said, I loved that video. It was such a tangible way to experience your photos. Already set apart the inquiry experience. From there, this isn't verbatim what Jess and I do. I just wanted to put in things that you could understand so you can start mapping this out yourself. So say you set apart your inquiry experience. Right after that, say you send a welcome box, and the timing, the day after the wedding is booked. So the day after the wedding is booked, you put in the mail a welcome box or a welcome gift. I also put on here, for example, every Tuesday. A really good way to do this is to know that every Tuesday or every Wednesday, whatever day it is, I go to the post office and I ship, because if you book multiple weddings and you want a welcome box to go to every client, it's much more efficient to go to the post office once a week with all of them than having to run there a couple times a week. So for time frame, put either the time frame of when it is booked to when you're doing that, or just a day of the week that you go do this. The next thing, say you do their engagement session, right? After you do their engagement session, say you want to deliver prints, like you want to surprise them with a couple prints or a frame with a print in it. For example, Jess and I always love gifting little albums to them from Kiss Books. So this says, like, the day after the session is delivered, we send them a print, or we order them the album. So I know every time, once the engagement session is done, the day after that, I'm sending them the gift. So there's the repeatable task and the time frame. Next, you say coffee gift card. You could fill in the blank for anything here. So say you send a letter in the mail or an email that says, hey, your wedding's in 2 weeks. Here is a gift card. Go grab a cup of coffee. Don't talk about wedding planning. Just enjoy each other's company. Or say there's a local spot that if they're in the same town as you want to send them to. Whatever it is, I just know 2 weeks before the wedding, on that date, on my calendar, I go send them this. And then it can step and repeat with every single client. Furthering down, say you want to do a same-day slideshow. Write this down. Obviously, that happens day of, but if it's not written down, you don't repeat it with everyone. Furthering that, and as you can see, the more you do this, the more it compounds on itself, and the experience is just going way above expectations. Say you want to deliver a sneak peek. For Jess and I, we always want our brides and grooms to wake up to a sneak peek on their phone, so we have this as day after the wedding. The day after the wedding, we wake up, we text those to them, just 5 to 10 images, have a text that just says congrats, saying how wonderful their day was, here's a sneak peek of your wedding. And if we don't have that laced out in a system every single time, might fall short, but when we know, nope, this is how we do business, we get to show up every time and blow everyone's expectations every single time. And then say after that, one of the things Jess and I love doing is a bonus album. So bonus albums, say post-wedding, when we go through the album process and they order their album, when it's delivered through Kiss Books, they offer these little baby kisses. They're adorable. They're 4x4 books. We just duplicate that and have them ship that in the box with their album. So when they get their album, not only is that a whole nother experience, there's a gift inside that box, which is another album. So if you can see from point A to point B, if the bottom B is the baseline, we just blew their expectations, and you can put this on repeat with every single client, giving them several reasons and several avenues to talk about you, your experience, and that way you don't have anyone falling through the cracks if you send every single person through this system. So now it's your turn. I put this here because if you click the link right below this video, I bundled this up into a PDF for you. You just click and I will send that to your email, your downloads folder, so you can print this, you can put it digitally however you want, and you can start to map out, print it out a couple times and maybe try different things and lace out different things. But this is just a simple tool to give you a visual on how to blow expectations with every single client. And I know the last thing you might be thinking is, doesn't it seem kind of boring? Because as creatives, you're like, is it that simple to step things out? Can I have creative freedom in that? Absolutely. There's two answers I always give to this question because I ask that myself. But one, it's better to have a system that you can at least base everything off of so you're giving everyone across the board remarkable experiences. And two, sometimes what seem to be the most boring systems create the most remarkable brands. For instance, I'm not the biggest Starbucks drinker, but I know if I go to Starbucks in Santa Barbara, if I go to Starbucks in Italy, if I go to Starbucks in Hawaii, wherever I'm at, you can order an iced caramel macchiato with non-fat milk and whipped cream and extra caramel, and it's going to be the exact same wherever you go. That's remarkable that a coffee shop can do that globally. And it's going to be remarkable when you have a system that you can treat every single client that walks through your door with remarkable experiences, giving them reasons to talk about you, elevating your income, elevating your experience, your reputation. So my friends, hit that download button below so you can grab this PDF and you can start charting out your client experience. If you like this video, please smash that like button, hit subscribe, and I want to hear your ideas. If you are fired up on client experience and you do something that you're proud of, I would love to hear about it in the comments. As always, I am cheering you on. I'm here for you. I believe in you. Until next time, I will see you in the next video.